All right, today we have Peter Taunton on the podcast. So we had him on our podcast about 3 years ago, and we had to bring him back because he provided so much value to our audience. And you obviously have heard of his incredible story, and I'm just going to read it for you first. So for those who haven't listened to our previous episode, Peter Taunton had a vision to create an affordable 24/7 results-driven gym to really differentiate from the big box gym. So he is the founder of Snap Fitness, which now has is involved in 28 countries, 2,500 locations. Recently, in recent years, he acquired and founded several brands, including 9 Round, Farrell's, YogaFit, STEELE Fitness, Fitness on Demand, that together with Snap Fitness comprise the world's largest wellness franchise organization, more than 6,000 locations total. And before founding Snap Fitness, he owned 9 America's fitness centers. His accomplishments have been noticed in the business community. In 2010, he was named an Ernst and Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and his companies have been featured on all sorts of well-known lists in the industry, such as Entrepreneur 500, Inc. 5000, Top Global, and Franchise 500. He's since exited his companies for, I believe, multiple 9 figures, currently a Forbes Masterclass instructor. Currently, he's the CEO and co-founder of Nautical Bowls, a brick and mortar acai bowl chain that has grown to 58 stores. We just confirmed and has awarded more than 190 territories as of today, and that's been in just a couple of years. And he also consults with entrepreneurs and is the author of Impossible Hill: Discover Your Unstoppable Fire, Destroy Your Limits, and Take the Hill of Your Dreams. Peter, welcome to the show.
Luke, thanks, man. That's a hell of an introduction. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, it's all true. It's funny. We were just talking right before we started recording here about, you're in Miami now and have, a beautiful, beautiful home there. And, about just how fortunate you've been. I mean, now that you're kind of sitting, looking out of the ocean, like, how is it, did you ever envision your life would be how it is right now?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I never envisioned that my success would be to what it is right now, but I knew that I was capable of it, right? I always dreamed big. But if you had asked me as a small boy, what's the probability of it happening? I mean, let's face it, it was certainly a long shot, and it's a long shot for anyone, which is why I love sharing my story, the realness of it, and that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. And let's face it, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of grit, a lot of long days, a lot of sacrifice. And I think that's fairly common with people that have experienced any level of success, that it's all about those things. And I know within your podcast, I'd be doing a disservice if we didn't just talk about the mindset of what it takes to win and overcome some of those big hurdles that you think sometimes are insurmountable.
Absolutely. And again, if you have not listened to Peter's previous podcast episode that we did with him, make sure to go back and listen to it. We just reposted it in August of this year, 2023. But Peter, I'll let you do it, and I feel like I would be doing you a disservice not to let you give a couple minute background. But for those who don't know, Peter didn't come from success, right? He came from a very modest background. Youngest of 7 kids. Grew up in a small town, Wilmar, Minnesota, and I'm sure at that point, success was the farthest thing from your mind. So could you just do maybe a brief, kind of 2-minute overview of kind of your background and upbringing?
Sure. Look, as you said, I grew up in a small little rural town in Minnesota. I went to school in a 2-room schoolhouse. Youngest of 7 kids. I have an identical twin, so my identical twin and I were the youngest of 7. And look, we had a fairly, a normal, night life as a child growing up in the country. And we played a lot of sports and whatnot. And my dad had a grocery store in that little hometown of ours, and that's where I learned to work. That's some of my life lessons I learned right there through the lens of an 8-year-old boy selling popcorn in front of his grocery store. So that was my first experience into business. And funny, it was a rite of passage for any of the kids in our family, because everyone kind of took their turns as they got to a certain age. 8 years old was the magic number where you were old enough to sell popcorn in front of my dad's grocery store. But it was just such a great experience. And, having the opportunity to watch my dad work and his work style, his grit. He's a bit of a cowboy. He's a straight shooter. hardworking guy. And, you know, those are all great qualities, I think, especially in today's day and age when some of those qualities are rather difficult to find in people.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think your story is so relatable to a lot of people because, not everyone, has come up in success, and you literally created it on your own, through, like you said, hard work, determination, grit, all those things. So,
I mean, hey, to that point, Luke, I should add, my opportunity came when I was always an athlete growing up. Okay.
yeah,
I was always an athlete, and my opportunity came to turn around a failing health club in that little hometown of mine.
yeah,
And I had quit college. I quit college my junior year because my family, we were not at a place where my parents could pay for college for us. So I was taking student loans, and our student loans, I remember my student loan debt was about 12 grand. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 100 before I pay this thing off. It was just such a big number for me. So I quit college for that, and had an opportunity to turn around a failing health club. And the opportunity, I'm 22 years old. The opportunity was literally, if you could turn this business around, there was 5 owners of that health club in my little hometown. If you can turn this thing around, Peter, we'll let you buy us out with the profits. Now, I'm sure they thought this is a long shot, but I was popular in school. I was an athlete in school. It made, right. I was well known within the community. So, if I was as deserving of that shot as anyone. Well, I'm sure they thought it was a total long shot, but I was successful. I literally rolled up my sleeves and turned that business around. It took me about 8 years to do it. And that was my springboard, because I had no plan B. I had nothing I could fall back on. This was my one opportunity. So I worked some unbelievably long hours and gave that business everything I had to try to turn it around. And fortunately for me, and with the grace of God, I had people saw something in me. They believed in me. They loved my work ethic. So the community kind of rallied around me. They supported me and my business and the efforts of my business. And that was my springboard to, building what would end up being one of the largest wellness brands in the world. I mean, I didn't know that was going to be my springboard. I was just trying to scratch out a living, but it just worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to highlight one important thing there that I took away from that I think a lot of other people don't realize is, so a lot of people see you now and they're like, you just, started and founded Nautical Bulls just a couple of years ago, and you've already, had 190 awarded territories. People are like, oh, that's such fast growth. And, like I remember I heard another podcast, you said that when you founded Snap Fitness, you added, like, in the 4th year, I think it was like 377 locations. So, I mean, you grew it like very, very fast. But one of the things that you said right now is that it took you about 8 years to turn around a business. And a lot of people, like, they quit after like 3 months. They're like, holy cow, like, this business isn't working, or, I can't lose weight, or whatever it is, right? They quit way too soon. But you really have, and you've been in business now for, I think, over 30, 35 years. And a lot of people don't realize that it takes time. So, like, how did you develop at an early age, and why is it important to have that, like, more long-term delaying gratification type mindset?
I tell you what, it is a learned behavior. If I'm going to be honest with you, Luke, because look, early on in my career, when I was saddled with that failing business, it did not take long for me to start seeing positive improvements. Okay. And that's why, and I talk about this in my book, Impossible Hill. It's okay to put that stake in the sand way off in the distance as your North Star, as your goal. That's perfectly logical, but it's critical that you put milestones along the way, so you can kind of track the breadcrumbs, if you will, of your success. Because sometimes that North Star, it could take you years, and some days you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm standing still. And you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I work with today. They say, Peter, I'm stuck. And they're not stuck at all. The problem is they lack perspective on how long the journey can be. So if you start measuring all movement, and as long as that movement is heading forward, that should be fire in your belly. That should be motivating. And it was for me. I mean, honestly, if somebody told me that, my first brands were going to be 15 to 20 years of development, I would have said, check, please. I'm going to try something else. That's just the honest truth, right? You learn along the way. So some of that work experience, a lot of that road rash that I experienced over the last, as I do the math in my head, it's honestly, I'm 61 now. And so the last 40 years, a lot of that road rash I share with people, and I share it with them in a way where it's real, it's uncensored. And I think today's day and age, people need that real, raw, no bullshit. This is what you're in for. Okay. And that's what I try to bring.
Yeah. And that's what I love about your message as well, is that you do tell the truth and you do show that there are, failures along the way. So, I mean, I think most people probably in general are going to be in that, early stage of their business or their personal development journey or their health or whatever it is. So you said that like you started measuring like all movement, like despite the fact that it did take you a while, like longer than maybe you originally thought, like what kind of things did you measure at that point to stay motivated?
Well, for me, I was measuring the one thing, which was the most important thing. I was measuring cash flow. Okay. Because the business was not cash flowing. When I took that business over, the business was losing $200,000 a year. No joke. Like cash flow, the owners would have to put in, there was 5 owners. They were each kicking in $40,000, $50,000 a year. The first year that I took it over, it went down to $120,000. Now to me, they just made $80,000. And it was very interesting perspective for me, because with those owners, they still lost money and they were still unhappy. And for me at that time, I was now 23 years old. I thought it was interesting when they said, damn, this thing lost 120 grand this year. And I said, it didn't lose 120 grand. You made 80. So I think it's important how you look at the situation. You know what I mean? And the next year it went from, losing 120 to actually creating some positive cash flow. And so it was that movement, Luke, that was motivating for me. I could see progress, and the progress was moving in the right direction. And that's just key for me. And I was just, from there, I was on fire. I was working hard and driving the business. And every time the business would make $1, I was putting money back into the club, painting. I was doing a lot of it myself, painting at nights, I was above nothing. And that's what people were drawn to, that I wasn't drawing a big fat salary. You know what? They paid me $16,000 a year. I mean, that's damn, that had to be less than poverty even back then, right?
Yeah.
We'll figure about it. We found a way.
So, like I said, that right there, I mean, just having that long-term vision mindset that, I am going to do it. So like if you were, and I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but like where a lot of people are right now, like if you were starting from scratch right now, like you have someone coming up with a business, like what are the types of things that people need to do? How do they need to think? Like what kind of habits they need to have?
Well, look, I mean, getting into business, and we're experiencing it right now with nautical bowls. Okay, I'm just going to use that as an example. So nautical bowls, when we started it, it was, these stores, they would take off like fire. The economy was great. Everything was moving in the right direction. But the business environment today is entirely different than it was when we started the company. Okay, you've got inflation at an all-time high. So you get inflation, which is affecting the spending habits, the discretionary spending habits of the consumer. So you've got cost of goods across the board. You've got a political environment that's brutal. Okay. You look at how far this country has slidden in the last 2 years. That's a big issue. And so all of that weighs in. You got interest rates at an all-time high. Had you told me 2.5 years ago that interest rates we're going to go to, from 3.5% to 8%, I would have said, no way. But that's the environment we're in. So what I'm trying to educate my franchisees with, because you got some franchisees out there, they've got inflation, they got loans, the interest rate on their loans is up. They're struggling within their business. It's hard. And I tell them, hey, look, this is when you got to go. Before you had foot traffic coming in your stores. Now the foot traffic needs to be you getting outside the store and bringing our product, doing special events, caterings, deliveries, birthday parties, grad parties. You got to find ways to make that business survive through these tough economic times. And that is where a lot of people fail, because they think, hey, look, this was a semi-absentee business I'm getting into, and it may have been at one time, but I can tell you, in my 40 years of business experience, I can tell you that there are times where the economy, it ebbs and flows, where I've had to dig in and change my strategy. So the message to your people out there is, look, being an entrepreneur, look, there's nothing more rewarding than being an entrepreneur of a thriving business. But just as much as it can be thriving, there's things that happen beyond your control that are going to force you to course correct and do what you need to do to sustain and weather the storm. Okay. I'm doing everything I can as the CEO of that brand to try to drive costs down, buying better, importing from internationally, doing everything. I mean, a year ago today, our food cost was 45%. Today, it's 32%, and will be, by the end of first quarter, will be 25%. That's purely done by getting really creative with our vendors and our supply chain.
Incredible. Like you said, just right there. I mean, even despite the economy, you took the food costs when you first took over from 45% of Nautical Bowl's total revenue to now 32%. So obviously big savings there for a lot of the business owners as well.
As a CEO of a business, or if you're a sole proprietor in your business, whatever it is, you got to understand, I took a step back as I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, look, we're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with inflation, cost of goods. It's affecting the consumers' spending habits. They're holding on to their discretionary dollars much closer. And to make matters even worse, I've got a fluctuating interest rate that's driving the loan costs for every one of my franchisees. It becomes very, very difficult. Okay. But understand, in business, there's no guarantees. Okay. There's no guarantees. That's why you got to be willing and open-minded to say, look, this is what I signed up for as an entrepreneur. I've got to give it what it takes. Okay. And it's not for everyone. That's just the reality of it. It's just not for everyone. Because when they talk about sleepless nights, you can have some sleepless nights, but even take all of that and, ball it up and put it in a pile in front of you. I'll tell you, there's nothing more rewarding than being the owner of a business that is thriving. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than being your own boss. Okay. And having financial freedom and flexibility and employing others and empowering others. There's nothing more rewarding to that. That is the prize. Okay. But you better be willing to walk through the fire to get there.
Right. So if you were like building like a person right now, like let's say again, someone's starting from scratch and they have no skills, they have maybe a thoughts or wants to become, their own boss in whatever capacity it is, what would be like the first kind of skills or character traits or habits or whatever it is that you'd want that person to develop?
Well, I think, you've got to have a sense of accountability and discipline, and they go hand in hand. I know your audience is very fitness minded, so that should resonate with them, but discipline and accountability, because without discipline, you don't hold yourself accountable to anything. So it starts right there. And then, grit is what's going to carry you through those very, very tough moments. And you learn very quickly. I don't care if it's on the football field or in the boardroom, you learn very quickly the people that don't have the stomach for it. Okay. So, to me, I say, look, be prepared, be mentally prepared for what you're moving into. You want to be an entrepreneur. I get it. Who doesn't? But it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Okay. And there's some entrepreneurs out there that make it look really easy. But I tell you what, if they're going to be real and honest with you, a lion's share of them are going to tell you about, the difficult moments of sheer perseverance and gut check. That's where the gold lies. Honestly, when I'm talking to people that are successful, I ask them, hey man, tell me some of the horror stories. Tell me some of the tough moments, man. Because that's where all the learning took place. anyone can run a company with the wind at their back, you know?
Let's actually go through those right now. I was actually going to bring that up later, but why don't we go into that right now? Like, what were a couple of those points, let's say maybe early in your career, where like you felt like everything was against you? Maybe you felt, maybe there are times we felt like quitting, like, is this for me? You know, what were those moments, and how specifically like did you overcome them?
Look, I think the more relevant, let's talk about right now, because you're talking about, rather than bringing people back to the early years when you write payroll checks and you didn't have money in the account, hey, look, that's a gut check for anyone. But let's bring it to where we are right now today. You've got a concept. So nautical bowls, it's in the healthy, fast casual space, and acai bowls are relevant. People love them. Okay. They're full of antioxidants. They're good for you. It's not dessert. It's a meal replacement. So the product is right on point. The people love the product. All right. But you've got some things that are playing with the performance of that business as a whole. All right. And I was just on a call earlier today with another person in another restaurant space. Same thing. His numbers are down year over year. Hey, look, everybody, when you get in these kind of situations, it's very important that you understand what are the big movers, what are the material items within my business that are the non-negotiables that I absolutely need to have in order to deliver value to my customers. So you have to identify what those things are. And then you got to look back. I mean, in the restaurant space, one of the biggest line items is labor. And if you're paying somebody that's running your store, and that's one of the biggest line items in there, look, don't think for a moment that you may not have to roll up your sleeves and get in there and give it what it takes. You've got to be able to do it. Okay. You've got to be willing to put in the work, because the option is you're on this sinking ship. So you got to find a way to stabilize it. So you got to try to limit your overhead. And if you can offset the overhead by getting in there yourself, great. Second part of it is you got to find new ways to drive traffic into your store. You got to get out there and bring the product to the people. Okay. And it's work, but I tell you what, when you go at this with a plan, you can see movement, and it's that perseverance that gets you through the business. I don't care if it's selling acai bowls or pizzas, you pick it, man. When you're dealing with a headwind, tough economic situation that we're in right now, political turmoil, interest rates through the roof, inflation through the roof, all of it affects the customer. So you got to go out there and find the customers that still have some discretionary spending that are willing to buy the product. Okay. Foot traffic is down, and that's the challenges. Okay. Look, this is going to ebb and flow. It's going to work itself through. It does. It happens all the time, but you've got to be aware of it. So the punchline for your audience is, look, being in a business, whatever kind of business it is, understand, plan ahead for what could be my blind side? How do I get blindsided in this business? Make sure you've got a little dry powder on the sideline. Make sure you have a plan B on how you can pivot and sustain the business for a period of time till you come out the other side of the economic condition that we're in.
For sure. I love all that. So one thing that you focus on seems like primarily has been brick and mortar businesses, whereas, a lot of people are doing tech or service-based businesses or real estate. Are you involved in those at all as well, or do you just primarily stick with brick and mortar? And why specifically do you like brick and mortar?
I think the space where I've done well is anything that's consumer facing. Okay. Consumer facing. And for some reason, for me, one of my gifts is, and I believe me, I don't have many, but one of my gifts is to, I can assess things fairly quickly and create a plan that can be, here's the immediate plan, here's the long-term plan. I mean, I can see where the boat is taking on water, and I can try to find ways to plug those holes quickly. But then more importantly, how do we come together on a strategy that's going to elevate us and sustain us moving forward? And sometimes it takes a complete shift in the business to get to that place, because the economy has changed and it's not coming back. Perfect example of that is COVID. Okay. During COVID, there's a lot of companies that made some critical pivots during that COVID period. And today they're a better, stronger company with better morale. What did they do? They no longer have a corporate office. They allow people to work from home. Well, what does that do? Well, it increases the morale of the employees. Why? Because they're working in their kitchen table rather than showing up at the office. Now, there's pros and cons of that. You know, obviously you don't get the mentoring and that you do in an office setting. But today, the lion's share of the working force that's out there, they expect that one of their perks of the job is they're going to work from home. It's just it's an expectation today for most companies. And Nautical Bowls is that. Nautical Bowls, every one of my people, they work from home. In fact, I don't even call them employees. They're 1099. Okay. I 1099 every one of them because they don't have a set schedule. That's part of their criteria. They don't have a set schedule. They have a responsibility that they're going to do for me. And for that, I pay them. I don't care if they're working from 6 in the morning till 2 or 6 at night till 2 in the morning. It's performance based. Okay. And that's where a lot of CEOs that I've had to work with, I have to get them to change their mindset because they get so caught up with if Betty doesn't have her ass in the seat from 9 to 5, she's not working. And I said, look, get that out of your mind. It's not relevant anymore. You're never going to get great talent with that mindset that you're rocking right now. You need to get more performance-based incentives. And that's what they do. And they're just fine now.
Right. Like you said, it's such a changing landscape with, especially since COVID hit right now that a lot of people are working from home or, do have a different approach to their lifestyle. I mean, that is so different. So one of the things that you talked about as well is having non-negotiables earlier. And I just think in general, like focus is so difficult for a lot of people because there's so many different thoughts, myself included, right? I mean, there are always all sorts of different things you can do every single day. You've managed in your life, especially in business, to stay so focused on your goals. So what is the key to being focused, and how can someone like train themselves to focus in a very distracted world?
You know what? It's focusing on your dreams, focusing on your wants and your needs and all of those things, and your family and your loved ones and your balance in your life. I mean, all of those things require cognizant thought process, right? I mean, you can't just whimsically stumble your way through a day. So I think preparation is a key for success. Okay. I mean, you have to have a plan, and you have to have a plan of action. It doesn't have to be carved in stone. In fact, I don't recommend that, but have a course plan on how you want to show up every day for everything. Where do you want to be financially? Number one, no order of priority here. Okay. Where are you in your personal life? How are you with yourself? Okay. Do you love yourself? Do you love what you see looking back at you in the morning in the mirror? Okay. What does that look like? How is your personal life with your significant other? If that's important to you, how is it with your family and your faith? I mean, all of these, you gotta self-check all of these areas if you want balance. Okay. And I had the good fortune and the blessing of meeting a lot of really interesting people that don't have balance in their life. And look, it's not until you get that balance in your life that you really get a sense of what balance is. If you don't have balance, you go, Peter, I got perfect balance, right? And I know that they don't, because I've asked a series of questions. I've vetted them out, if you will. So I know they don't have balance, but I tell you what I also appreciate is that they don't know what they don't know, which is perfectly fine. All right. So I help them get to a place where they have a little bit more balance in their life. And suddenly, over time, it doesn't happen overnight. Suddenly, over time, their demeanor changes. It becomes a little bit softer. They laugh a little bit more. They smile a little bit more. They feel a little bit less pressure. Why? Because they have these outlets of frustration. They have other ways of getting through things that bring more balance. And they suddenly start to realize that, look, I was focusing way too much on this. It was totally stressing me out. And they also learned to understand that don't sweat the things that you can't control. Okay. Don't worry about that. You can't control it. So that's what's giving you the heartburn here is you're trying to control things that you have no control over. Instead, I want you to focus on how do you react to some of the unforeseen. Okay. Having, once again, I get back to that word, preparation. Are you prepared in the event that this happens or that happens? And it's not like you got to sit there with looking over your shoulder all afternoon or every day. You don't have to do that. That's not what I'm suggesting. But you got to be cognizant of what is going on around you. And when you see some of these things falling into place, then it's time to make a pivot if that's the prudent, necessary thing to do.
Love it. So you said balance. What does balance mean to you?
Look, I mean, for me, and there's sometimes I get out of balance. You know, right now with this economy, I'm a bit out of balance because I'm spending a lot of time talking with franchisees about how to, the mindset. Yes, I'm not here to tell you that this is not a difficult time. I got to get them in the mindset of, look, this is being an entrepreneur. Now, you are experiencing something here that this is not the pleasant time of being an entrepreneur. This is not the kittens, balloons, and butterflies period. This is the holy shit work. I'm going to work now. This is the road rash point of it because you got some things that you can't control. You can't control, food costs. You can't control inflation. You can't control, the whacked out behavior that's going on with some of this political unrest that we're seeing in this country. All of it is taking a little bit of a toll. So that trying to help people through that. So for me, where's my balance? Well, my balance is, look, I love working. I love what I do, even though some days are harder than others. I love the relationship with Carolina, my fiance. Love that. I love my relationship with my family and my kids, and my friends, and I love my relationship with God. I've always had a strong faith. I'm not one of those guys that can quote scripture. That's not me. But I tell you what, I give thanks to God every day because of where I came from and what I overcome. Okay. Look, and I had loving parents. I don't have any skeletons in the closet that way. My parents did the best they could with what they had, but you know what? We didn't have a lot. And I worked through a hell of a lot. And I had the opportunity to work with a lot of unbelievable people. And I would say the success of all of my brands, I've been able to stand on the shoulders of some incredible people that I'm blessed to be able to call my friends. And so that's what balance looks like for me.
Love it. Love it. You've identified what's important to you and then you've aligned your life accordingly.
I try, and it doesn't say that, there's not moments where you get off, you get off kilter one way or the other. Look, that's called life. Okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's called, look, sometimes you got to man up, and that's not exclusive to just men. Look, people, there are times where things happen beyond your control and you better suck it up and ring the bell. Okay. You got to show up and you got to put in the work, and, complaining is not going to resolve anything. Okay. And there's a lot of people, that's what they do. They bitch really loud, and you got to listen to them, but you want to say, look, I share your frustration. I'm frustrated too, but this is unproductive. What needs to happen now is it's go time. You need to roll up your sleeves. You need to find time to put into this venture that you invested in, whatever it looks like. You've got to find the time to get in here and help start bailing. You're in a boat, it's taking on water, you got to start bailing. That is a great mindset. And that's how people really build character, getting through those tough moments. And when you come out the other side, I tell you what, there's a whole nother level of self-confidence that comes into play because you did it. You fought through it. Nothing, that's another feather in your cap.
I love what you said there because, I've heard the term, tough times, whatever it is, tough times develop strong men, or, whatever that term is. And I think what you've spent a lot of this today talking about is how to go through tough times, because like you said, I think a lot of people, anytime, whether it's they start a fitness plan or they start a relationship or they start a business or whatever it is, always expect everything to be all hunky-dory. And, it ends up not being that way, right? There are going to be tough times along the way. And it's how you handle those that really seems to be the difference with people who are successful and move past it, and those who aren't as successful.
No question. There's no question about it. And you know what? It's being real. Today, I wish, I'm talking about the business environment that is out there today. Yes, there are some industries that they prosper in tough economic times, but anyone out there today that thinks these are great economic times is completely out of touch with reality. Completely.
So pivoting a little bit here, another thing you have spoken a lot about is, personal finance and wealth. So let's say someone wants to build wealth, since that is obviously has been something that you have done yourself, and someone's starting kind of from square one, like how do they go about even thinking about that or approaching it?
That's easy. You know what I tell them? Take 20% of your check, and I don't care if your check is $1,000, $1,000 a week, a month. I don't care what it is. Take 20% of it and put it away and don't touch it. Okay, it's your non-negotiable. The first 20%, you put it away, and then you find a way to live on the 80%. Because until you get into that habit of until you have some dry powder on the sidelines, you can't do anything. Okay, or you're very, very limited. And so that would be the first thing. And it's a great lesson too on how to sacrifice. And I get people all the time, hey, Peter, I need every penny. I go through their personal finances and it ends up being straight up embarrassing for them, because they've got their health club membership. They got they get coffee every morning at Starbucks. I say, we're whacking that out. We're whacking out the health club membership. Oh my God, I work out every day. I know you're going to fight. You know what? You're paying $140 for that. So if you want to go to Planet Fitness and do their $15 plan, I can get my head around that. No problem. Okay. But what I want you to get into what this exercise is about is cutting back and saving money. If you save $120 on your membership by downgrading to a different club or a different plan, but then you find a new home for that 120 you just saved, it's a lateral move. Okay. So same thing with people. Oh, I've got a motorcycle and I've got a car. Okay. You don't need the motorcycle. Well, the motorcycle's paid for. I know. Sell it. And you're no longer going to have that insurance premium for it. So you're going to sell it, put that in the bank. Okay. The savings, your line item that you have for insurance every year, that's going in there. You're paying $500 a year for insurance. Okay. There you go. There's the next piece. It's just stripping it down. How bad do you want it? Okay. How bad do you want it? Because I'll tell you what, there's going to be opportunities out there. You do that for a couple of years, a year, 2 years, pretty soon you got 10 grand sitting in a bank account. Okay. And now you can do something. You can't do a lot, but let's say that you're kind of creative. Let's say you're handy and you find somebody who's buying fixer-uppers, okay, homes. And there's a lot of homes out there that sell for 10% down. So it's a $250,000 home. You find a partner, you come to the table with 10 grand, okay? Your partner comes to the table with 20 grand or 30 grand, and you say, look, I'm going to put sweat equity for my share. I'm going to tear out the carpet. I'll do the demo work. I'll do this. I'll do that. But you're bringing some cash to the table. And I tell you what, when you tell them this is my life savings, when you're talking to people like me, and you're putting your life savings into this venture that we're about to partner with, it sheds a whole new different light. I don't give a damn about your 10 grand. All I hear is you put your life savings in it. And there's so many people out there today that want to get into business, but they're OPM. I talk about it, other people's money. Okay. I always get a kick out of those people. You give me your money, I'll give you 40% of my company. So, I mean, it's just such bullshit that, you know what I mean? It's put your money in the game, invest your money into the game. So I know that you've got some skin in it as well. Quit trying to have me finance your entire dream, and then you retain, a lion's share of the equity. That just doesn't make any sense in anyone's world.
Love that. So save, put 20% away. every single month. And I do a variation of that as well, because it can be easy to just be like, oh, let me just take all this money. Oh, I have some extra money. Let me spend it on this. Let me spend it on that. Right. Versus saving and building true wealth over time. No, I
And
love it.
you know what, Luke? I'm always surprised by people. They do an annual trip. They go on a vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's another thing. You got to find ways to entertain yourself where it feels like a vacation, where you're not dropping a few grand. You got to find a way to do that. Once again, how bad do you want it? Okay. And it gets right down to that. How bad do you want it? And then once you have it, are you willing to risk it? That's another question you need to ask yourself. Okay. It took you 5 years to sock away 10 grand or 15 grand, whatever your number is. And you realize how long it took to do that. Now, are you willing to risk it? Because that's a whole other threshold of pain that a lot of people get to, and they never make the jump. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. But you got to do it all. You got to, you got to think about, visualize, what is it that I want to do? Where do I want to be? Okay. You got to visualize it first. And I'm not a big fan of manifestation. Okay. Manifestation. Oh, I manifested it. I get so sick of that. It's so overused. Okay. Because a lot of people do this. I'm all for visualizing it, creating a plan. Okay. 2 very important steps. But the most important step is the last step. You got to make the jump. Okay. So you can take manifestation and you can wipe your ass with it unless you're willing to make the jump. Okay. That's the reality. Oh, I got this great plan. Okay. I visualized it, Peter. I put my plan into place, but you didn't do the last step, which is the plan, which is you got to make the jump, because all that hard work, all that preparation that you did it only comes to fruition if you make the jump. Okay. That's the reality. It doesn't if you're going to sit around and wait for opportunity to fall in your lap, you're going to wake up one day, you're going to be 40 with not a pot to piss in. I see it all the time. Sorry for the candor today, but it's the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're so right. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people just get told what they want to hear, whereas you're telling people what they need to hear, which is they need to do something different. If they're not getting the results that they want, they need to do something different, and they can't keep, wallowing in their sorrow, right? They got to get up off their butts, for lack of a better term, and just get going and push themselves.
I tell you what, an interesting set of clients that I have are people that have done well. They've built a company, they've sold it, and let's say that they sell it. Let's just pick an easy number. They have $10 million in the bank. Okay. And they think that it's done. So the guy, he's had success. He's done all the things he needed to do to grow a business and exit the business. He's got $10 million. That is a lot of money. Okay. But then they completely fall off the deep end. All right. They're no longer working because they think that they're rich. Okay. And they are to an extent. But what do? They start upgrading their homes, their vacations. They buy bigger boats. They buy fancier cars. Their wardrobe changes. And you get somebody like that who's now he's just trying to live off the money. And by the time I get them, they've got their 10 million is 6. Okay. It happens more times than you'd think. And by the time they get to me, it's not that they're in financial ruins. That's not it at all. I'm trying to get the plane. I'm trying to right the ship. I'm trying to take that plane that's ready to do a face plant. I'm taking that guy and I'm trying to right the plane and get him back to elevation again. And that dipping point for them, those are character building moments for people when they're selling, when they got to sell their boat and they got to readjust their lifestyle. Because if they don't, and I tell them this all the time, hey, look, you don't have to do what I'm suggesting. You don't have to do it. But if you don't, I promise you, 3 years from now, we're going to have this conversation. Your 6 million is going to be 3, and now you're back to work. Now you're literally going back to work. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now, and I give them a mindset on, here's what we're going to do. Here's how much we're going to spend from our passive income, because here's what they need to understand. Hey, Peter, I'm just going to put all 10 million away, and I'm just going to spend my passive income. Okay. Now, at a first pass on that, you think that's a hell of an idea. Good thinking. Okay. It's not. It's a horrible idea because you're going to have down markets. Okay. You're going to have down markets where your portfolio might be down 15%. I mean, there was some markets, 20% stock market. Okay. So your 10 million is now 8, but it gets worse. You have no cash flow. So, you know, your portfolio's tanking and you're dipping into your portfolio for 600 grand a year because that's your lifestyle. That's what your lifestyle requires. Okay. Well, you have a bad year like that, your 10 million becomes 7 really quick, really quick. Okay. Like overnight. And when that happens, that freaks people out, which I understand. So my point with these guys is, hey, look, take your passive income. I get right back to the same thing. Depending on how much it is, put at least 25% of it back in, reinvest it, 25%. Okay. Yeah, I mean, some people are like, oh, it's too much. Yeah, tell me about it. I've seen too many stories of people crash and frickin' burn from poor fiscal responsibility and accountability. I see it far too often, and I feel for them when that happens because it sucks, it hurts, it leaves a mark.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell this is something you're very passionate about, and I want to finish on 2 questions here. So the first one is, where can people find out more about you?
It's easy, man. I own my social media. I'm on one spot. I'm on Instagram. Okay. And all my Instagram, man, people say, you know, Peter, you know, why don't you share more personal stuff with you? If I did, it would be on the stories, but I'm not. I mean, I really don't have the time. If I'm traveling somewhere or whatnot, then I do. But you know, I'm not that interesting. So, you know, my stuff that's on Instagram, it's really experiences that I've been on or mindsets that I'm on. You know what I mean? And that's, so my Instagram is Peter_Taunton, and everything on there is, it's real. It's, you know, different interviews, little sound bites from interviews that I've done. And I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy looking at those and bringing nuggets in, because I know through my other line of work, the communication that I have with people, I know what they're going to be going through. So if they can catch a soundbite here or a soundbite there that gives them a little bit different perspective on how to approach a given situation, that's a bonus for me. I mean, I love giving back. I love it. So to me, my social media would be just Instagram.
I love it. And that feeds right into my last question, which is, I mean, you've achieved so much. Like, what still motivates you to keep going at this point? You've built financial freedom, you've built success. Like, what is your motivation at this point?
You know, for me, I think, first of all, I think retirement is completely overrated. It's completely overrated. And we're so blessed to be in a time in our lives, in just this period where you can do multiple things without going into an office every day. I mean, this is my office in Miami. You know, this is my home here in Miami. I do the same thing. You've seen my place up in Minnesota. I don't have to leave the house if I don't want to. Now I do, but I can be involved in multiple companies and never leave my home, because what they get through Zoom, it's no different than I'm right in the room with them. So getting up every day with purpose is absolutely key. Okay. You got to get up. If the biggest thing you think about all day is what you're having for breakfast, or where you're playing golf or pickleball, or how you're going to loaf and fill up the day, what a waste of an existence, in my opinion, especially if through the fruits of your effort through your life, you've been able to earn financial freedom. What are some of the things that helped you get there? And why would you keep that a secret when so many people aspire to be you? You know, you got to share those nuggets, right? Unless you're a complete dick and you don't want to share anything and you think it's all about you. But I think the people that really win are people, they've got a sense of humility. They've got a sense of, you know, gratitude for all the lessons, the good and the bad and the trials and tribulations of just life in general, whether it be relationships, business, whatever, in the past and what's coming. It's just life. You find people that have got balance in their life. They have a great perspective on just about everything. And those are the things that you got to share with people, because a lot of people, they just need a little bit of a correction and they're heading down the right path. And that's, if I can do that for someone, what a treat, what a reward. And for me, someday when my time is up here, I hope when I'm at the pearly gates that God says, hey, Peter, well done, and lets me in. Right? That would be the perfect way to end this life.
Love it. Love it. I mean, so many valuable nuggets today about just life, business, you know, whether it's fitness, whatever it is. I mean, I just feel like there'll be so many people have so many great takeaways. So, Peter, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Luke. Anytime, brother.